Call to order the City of Douglasville City Council Legislative Work Session for tonight, which is Thursday, February the 2nd. We'll have our invocation by Pastor Deborah Stewart, Associate Pastor of Golden Memorial United Methodist Church. It's good to see you this evening, and after our invocation, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
Good evening, and let us bow together. Holy God, you are good and gracious. Thank you on behalf of everyone gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings, for life itself, and the work you have assigned to this council. We are grateful for your love and gracious nature. Your holy word encourages us to pray for the governing authorities, to promote peace, order, and justice in our communities. We pray for all city officials and this assembled council. I ask that you grant them wisdom and the ability to work together in harmony. I pray for the agenda set before them. Give them courageous leadership and focus to complete every assignment, and not to grow weary in well-doing. Let their service honor you. We pray in the name of Jesus, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and we really appreciate that beautiful prayer that you've given us an invocation, Pastor Stewart. Welcome to the Douglasville City Council. My name is Rochelle Robinson. I'm mayor of the city of Douglasville. We're excited to have you in this evening. This is a legislative work session where agenda items are presented for discussion only, and no official action will take place tonight, but official action will take place on next Monday after we have received the information from the legislative work session this evening. If the business you're here for is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the items and comments from citizens and delegates section for you to discuss your business. I'll go over a few protocol items and then we can get right into the meeting. I ask that you please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You'll receive a warning from the chair if you do that, and if you deviate a second time, we will discontinue the conversation by turning your microphone off. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud or react to speakers, speak from the audience, cheer, or carry on a conversation when you're at the podium. We ask that you would just direct your information and your comments and concerns to the chair. I remind you that we're only required to accept public comments during required public hearings, and that we will maintain order. If you have a cell phone or electronic device, we ask that you please put those in silent mode or power those off until after the meeting, any of those social media things. Agenda items will be handled as the following. The committee chairperson will read the agenda item, and then that person representing that agenda item or applicant will make his or her presentation. And then myself and council members will probably ask questions and clarifying questions to help us make our decision and determination for next week, next Monday. After that, the committee chairperson will ask for comments or statements from the audience. There is a maximum of 20 minutes for those in favor of the item, 20 minutes for those in opposition, and each person has 5 minutes to speak, but each side in totality has 20 minutes. When you come forward, there are cards that you should have filled out on the desk outside. We ask that you please put your name and address on the card and hand it to our city clerk, Ms. Vicki Acker, to my right, and then you will come to the podium, give your name and address for the record. Each person has one opportunity to speak. This is not a debate format or question and answer. We're just here really to hear the information, deliberate, and make our decision on next week. We ask that you would please direct your concerns and questions to the committee chair who is running that particular agenda item. I believe that's it. If you do have any printed material, we ask that you would please give that to our city clerk. She will make copies and disseminate that information to myself and council members. So now we will go with the agenda. There are paper agendas outside on the desk, and or you can follow along with us on the screen. So, and each committee is how we do business. We go by committees. So now we'll move on throughout all of that. We have our announcements and presentations, and our first committee is Economic Development Committee. That's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business at this time under the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you, sir. Finance Committee, and that's chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
We have 3 items tonight under finance.
Mhm.
First, item A is authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Riley Contracting Incorporated for the West Pines Maintenance Facility renovation,
Mhm.
RFP 22-021. Mr. Marcus Thompson's going to come forward and help us with that contract.
Okay.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and
Good
Council.
evening.
Marcus Thompson, City Engineer,
Speak up.
6701 Church Street.
There you go.
Sorry,
It's okay.
Church Street.
It's raining a little bit.
Douglasville, Georgia, 30134. All right, so this project stems from wanting to improve the area near the West Pines golf course, golf hole 12. The project scope is pretty straightforward. It includes the demolition of the existing maintenance facility, which also includes the existing concrete slab, the installation, and also coming back with the installation of a 2,600 square foot pre-engineered metal building structure for the storage equipment and machinery only, in addition to a new concrete slab foundation to support. The city received 2 proposals. However, only one company was eligible to bid on this project due to the other company not attending the mandatory site pre-bid meeting with the site visit that we advertised.
Okay.
That said, Riley's contracting proposal was evaluated by 6 different staff members, receiving an average score per respondent of 90.2 out of 100. Staff also did their due diligence with reaching out to the provided reference, and we received nothing but positive feedback. So based on the firm's experience, bid price, and references, staff recommends awarding Riley Contracting the West Pines Maintenance Facility renovation project.
Thank
Are
you,
there
Mr.
any
Thompson.
questions?
Just one question. When would we anticipate that this project would begin, and how long roughly would it take?
Yeah, so he's ready to begin now. I'll be honest. So as soon as we approve this contract, he could start within the next 2 weeks, and it should take no more than 3 months.
Okay, second question. Has Riley done any work for us in the past?
No, sir.
And who did you reach out to as far as references, or surrounding communities or municipalities that he might have worked for?
Yes, the provided references that was listed within
Okay.
his proposal,
Okay.
and I can follow back on Monday with a list of those.
Okay,
those
no
names.
problem.
Yeah.
I'll open the floor for any questions or comments by council, and we'll start on this end with Coach Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Marcus, I understand the other company didn't attend the meeting, but they did submit a proposal prior to not meeting that requirement.
That is correct.
Okay, so I just looking at the scores, there's a wide range there between 78 and 100, but y'all feel pretty confident that this is the group to do the job?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Others? Anyone else?
I don't have any questions.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much, Mr. Thompson. That was my question as well, the score. Well, yeah, because it's from 78 to 100. So was there a difference, or why did a few of the people in the committee think it was?
That employee is no longer with us, Madam Mayor, so I would toss out that score.
Okay, never mind. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, others? Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Marcus, I noticed that one of the critical aspects of this contract is asbestos abatement.
Yes, sir.
Does this contractor or their sub have substantial experience in asbestos abatement?
Yes, they are certified to be able to perform the abatement services. And I do want to point out, too, that there is a minimal amount of asbestos located within that building.
Okay.
And you can see on the
That was some of the
report
pictures I
that's
think you had.
provided. But like I said, they're certified.
They're not going to, are they going to need to bubble the building?
No, no, sir.
And keep everybody 200 yards away? No, okay, that's good. That's all.
Others? No other questions? There was also, was there the question of lead-based paint also that was present? I saw in a very small,
Yeah,
minute
just
amount,
small
and
amount.
I'm assuming it would be taken care of the same way?
Yes, sir, that's
Okay.
correct.
Good enough. If there are no other questions or comments, we'll take this up on Monday for a vote, and I appreciate your input, Mr. Thompson. Stay right where you are. Authorize the mayor to execute change orders number 10 with Raylin and Associates Incorporated for the Douglasville Downtown Amphitheater Green Space Construction Project to remove and haul off the remaining unsuitable soil and unforeseen rock encountered around the site. Mr. Thompson and Mr. Steve Morrow from CPS.
Yeah, so if you can recall, we briefly touched on this subject during previous change orders. It's basically a combination of removing the unsuitable soil that was found near the main site of the park, as well as near the perimeter of the proposed park as well. And I'm sorry, that includes the rock, the blasted rock as well. And we felt the need to proceed with this, being that we are in the process of wanting to proceed with phase 2 of this project. And I'll let Steve, I don't want to do all the talking, I'll let Steve Morrow with CPS provide more details on this item as well.
Steve Morrow, 2005 Goldenrod Road, Roswell, Georgia. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
So just briefly, I'll go through, I think you might have a copy of the presentation that I put together. So the first part of this is, as Marcus pointed out, we originally had broken these up into 2 separate items to look at, because initially we were looking at the material that was specifically in our way in order to execute the construction of the town green. So we broke that part out to understand how much it would cost to get rid of. That soil originally was intended to be able to be spread along that back edge of the site. We have exceeded how much that we can spread back there, so there's no place for us to put it. And unfortunately, it is completely unusable in the fact that it has blast rock. The rock that we blasted out of the ground is heavily mixed into it, so it's literally unusable for much of anything. We couldn't sell it or ship it, so it needs to be trucked and taken to the landfill and spread. We really don't have any use for it, and it's in our way of executing the construction on the site. So that was the first part of it, the first element. The second part, as Marcus had pointed out, phase 2 of the project is looking to be as if it's going to continue. And Councilman Adams, when we talked about this previously, we had talked about the fact of all of that excess soil and rock that was there from the blast, and we are talking rocks that are probably bigger than this podium that are laying along the back of the site, just didn't make any sense in order to allow phase 2 to have a clean area to meet up to leave that there and let someone else deal with it at a later point. So that's why we put the proposal together, figured out what it was going to take. We're literally going to have to make big rocks into little rocks, put it onto a truck, and then have it taken out. And then that whole back part of the site will then be clean. It'll be ready for phase 2 to just marry up to the town green when the time comes. So that's really what this one is about, is just getting rid of a bunch of soil and rock from the site that we can't do anything else with, and leaving it ready for phase 2 to go when it happens. Any questions?
Well, when someone needs it, you can't find them to take it, and when you need it, you can't find it to buy it.
You are 100% right, sir.
Yes, sir. And we need to get rid of it.
We do.
Questions, comments?
I just,
What?
along those lines, I was wondering, so that, I know we can't store it, but is there a place out of the landfill where it could be piled up and somebody that needs it down the line is accessible to them, or for whatever?
So I will tell you that we looked into the possibility of sort of making this available for anybody that wanted it. The problem that we have is that the soil is so mixed with so much rock, the amount of effort that would be required to extract the usable soil is cost prohibitive. It just makes more sense. But it will go to a fill where it can then be dumped, and if someone either wants it or the fill, when they spread it or want to use it, it'll be available for someone that may want it.
I mean, if I was cutting a road, it sounds like soil with a lot of rock in it. If I was, Mark's shaking his head, that's.
Yeah, these are rocks, not the stuff that can
Gotcha.
be compacted to be used.
I had.
As Coach Watts has mentioned, though, Mr. Morrow, you have mentioned that it was going to a fill site. So are we then still going to be responsible for it, or is it out of sight, out of mind and over?
None of it is contaminated. No, we don't have any of that concern to where, when you say responsibility, once the firm takes it, puts it on their truck, it becomes theirs. They're responsible for the hauling of it,
Okay.
the dumping of it, where it goes.
So we're finished with it. We have
We-
basically given the
we'll be
rock
finished.
away or sold them the rock or whatever you want to call it, but
We're
we
done
don't have
with
any
it.
responsibility over it.
We do not. That is
Okay.
correct.
All right. Others? Yes. Go ahead, Ms. Miller.
Thank you. How much of a safety net do we have built into our budget for change orders?
So I would say there's a healthy safety net there that's available even at this point with the change orders that we've executed, even following these change orders. I am, with Marcus's help, very closely monitoring now as we're getting closer and closer to the end, trying to manage the resources that we have to ensure that we don't have any shortfalls by the time we get to the end of the project. But I think we're in good shape as we sit today.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I would just add, Ms. Miller, I think that anytime that you see a project like this where you are changing the use of a property where it has been used in previous times for various and sundry things, depending upon how many years you go back, I think we need to credit our staff with placing that hefty contingency in the contract to make sure that we covered ourselves. Thank you, Ms. Hampton and staff, and Mr. Thompson and Mr. Morrow for that. Others? Madam Mayor?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Steve and Mr. Thompson. I did have a question. I know you've probably already looked at this, but just for my own peace of mind, I thought we talked about there was a drop-off or something. Couldn't you just put all that dirt and rock in that? Wasn't it like
So I'm going to go back to the meetings we've had previously. Remember when we had the water line discussion where we had to extend out, I'll call it the drop-off,
Right.
the slope that goes off, so we have that water line in there. Well, we've used all of the soil that we can, and we
Okay.
have now, that slope is there. This is all of the stuff that is beyond what we could use. So to spread the size of the rocks along the back of that slope or even at the bottom of the slope would create a problem for Phase 2 because they would be looking
Okay.
at boulders that eventually would need to be taken care of by somebody as they were bringing Phase 2 to the site, which is why, looking at it, we decided that, look, now is the time, we have the ability before Phase 2 gets started to get rid of it and just allow Phase 2 a clean approach to the site where we're working so they don't have to worry about it at a later date.
the slope will still be there? The slope will
The
still?
slope will still be there because it's just a change in elevation from our site down to where Phase 2 is. How they manage that as Phase 2 comes up will be something that'll have to be part of the design of Phase 2. So I think indications are is they're planning to leave the slope, the elevation change, and they're just going to bring Phase 2 up, and there will be a transition into the city park once it's complete.
But you didn't want to have rocks, the huge boulders there because it was unsightly and a safety concerns, and
All
then
of the
trying to
above.
marry
Yes, ma'am.
the
Yes,
two
ma'am.
phases together.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Actually, thank you, Mr. Chair. The mayor actually addressed most of what I was going to ask about regarding the slope there, having the pictures and walked the site to see the drop-off. How are, I guess maybe this is more, since this phase 2 question, maybe the question is more for Marcus, is how are we going to take that drop-off into account? Because that is, I mean, that, I can't imagine being able to bring enough fill in for the rest of the site to bring it back up to the level of the ring road there. So are we going to have a lower level to the apartments and the commercial development there?
Right now, as we speak, that is the plan. Talking with the Phase 2 developers, they have no intentions to turn it into like a field site
Yeah.
needing to bring fill.
That would be an enormous amount of fill to come in. So I guess, yeah, it would then behoove us to take advantage of the elevation difference and give them another story to develop upon there. They could have like exercise rooms or whatever they can do. They can put them on the lower level if they want. Just a thought. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Davis, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Marcus, over at J.D. Park, they have a sign up says field dirt. Can any of that can be used over at J.D. Park? With Jesse Davis Park?
For this project,
I mean, field dirt, what you're hauling off.
So you want to know if the dirt that we're hauling off could be used in another location.
Right.
We looked into the ability of being able to try to see if someone would want the dirt for a fill, whether it was another city project or just anybody in the community. The fill is so filled with so much rock that it is not suitable to be used in any other location. It literally needs, the effort to be able to get the rock separated from the dirt would cost much more than if you just went and bought the fill to fill in the area that you're talking about at the other park. That's why it just became cost prohibitive, and it was just more effective for us to just get rid of it.
Okay, thank
Also,
you.
Councilman Davis, I want to point out too, I think at JD Park, they're trying to get rid of, they have.
That's why I know I seen the sign said free field dirt.
So they're in the same position on that project that we are on this one, that we need to get rid of it, and so they're trying to give it away there.
But it's actually usable.
Yes, that is usable, whereas this particular specimen is worthless as far as fill somewhere else, unless you were filling a huge depth and you could put the rock on bottom and then fill with better material on top, but we don't have that situation.
Mass fill's about all you
Correct,
can use
yes.
for a mass fill site.
What about you, Mr. Estes? Did you have any questions?
No, sir, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. If there are no other, then thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate the presentation. We don't like the look of change order number 10, but at the same point in time, we are at least prepared. Thank you all. We'll take this up on Monday. Last item, authorize the mayor to execute change orders number 11 with Rayland and Associates Incorporated for the Douglasville Downtown Amphitheater Green Space Construction Project for the modification to the horizontal mullions at the overpass bridge. Mr. Thompson and Mr. Morrow again.
So, I'll jump right in. The reason why you're seeing two different change orders, the fill dirt is something that's been around for a little while, and it was well documented, and we had it separated, and in order to just keep things clean, we broke them into two. So change order 11 involves, I'll call them three issues. The mullion size that you mentioned, there's some extra welding that needed to be done. And then the steel lintel over the garage door. What I tried to do in the presentation was kind of give you an indication of sort of where these things apply and how they work on the site. But the picture specifically for PCO 48, the window, if you see the horizontal pieces, how they look bigger than the vertical pieces, in essence, the original design had those to be the same size. But when the glass manufacturer ran the engineering calculations against the weight of the glass to be held up by those horizontal pieces, the smaller mullion size was not able to withstand the weight of the glass based on that. So, and you don't find that out until the glass manufacturer actually runs the engineering calculations associated with his specific metal framing that he uses to support the glass. So the solution was to increase the size or the thickness of that mullion in the horizontal to be able to support the weight of the glass. And what that ends up being is just additional material for the larger size mullion that's supporting the glass in the horizontal.
So basically then, Mr. Morrow, I think it's on page 5 of 10, it shows a diagram and a picture. We basically are having to beef up that bar joist in order to handle the weight of glass rather than the handle of the sheathing and so forth that was on the bridge prior, correct?
100% correct. That horizontal, the weight of the glass weighing down on those horizontal pieces was too heavy, and it failed in the engineering calculation.
Okay.
So we had to beef that up in order to support the glass so that it wouldn't either bend or bow the horizontal pieces as the glass sits on it.
Basically just difference in preparation for that product in order to handle glass rather than
That's it.
the exterior sheathing that was there prior. Different use. Okay. Questions, comments? Let's go with Mr. Mayor Pro Tem first this time. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is this glass immediately behind the letters on the bridge? Is that where it's
So
located?
yeah, this is the bridge, it is on the section of the bridge that has the glass on it.
What's holding the letters up? That's
So that's actually
a
attached to
separate-
the bridge framing.
Okay, so the bridge framing is, and that's the original framing.
That is the original
okay.
framing in some sections where work has been done to make sure, obviously, that everything is the way
How
it's
did-
supposed to be.
How'd they verify the load calculations on the existing framing? Did we have the original drawings from that, or did they just go out and test?
So you're referring to the glass?
No,
or
for
of
the framing
existing
for the
bridge?
letters.
Oh,
So
for the-
that's an added load on
so,
the,
yeah, those letters are, they're aluminum with a
Oh,
sort of a
good.
plexiglass.
Oh, they're pretty light
Weight
then.
is certainly
Okay.
not, based on the beefiness of that bridge and the steel that's there, I don't
they look
think
pretty,
that's-
they look pretty substantial. It's hard to tell what they're made out of.
Yeah, they don't show the weight as far as the size. I was actually looking at that tonight to see what they were made of, and they
Okay.
are not something that's providing a substantial weight to the bridge.
They look nice, though.
They do.
Looks really good. It's coming along. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. I know what I'm looking at, I know what you're talking about, but I'm confused a little bit. The glass is already there. Isn't it there already?
No.
What's
So
on the bridge right now?
the lettering that's there?
Yeah.
Or the cross bracing that's there from the original steel for the bridge?
Yes, sir.
Is what's there now.
There isn't any glass in the,
I don't think it's been installed yet. The framing, there might be some framing in place, but I don't think there's any glass. I drove by there tonight just to kind of check on the progress because I knew the letters went up. And I don't think the glass is there.
okay, I've been seeing too many renderings and I'm dreaming about it or
Yeah,
something. I
that's
thought
okay.
it's the glass. So the glass is not there and you all have done all the calculations and this is what it's going to take to have the glass to be secured.
That
So
is-
it won't
that
fall
is
in
correct.
on anyone. Okay, thank you. I apologize.
Any other questions? All righty. Thank you all, gentlemen. We'll take up item C on Monday, and we appreciate the time and effort that you placed. Madam Mayor, that's all that we have under finance tonight.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much, team. Do you have something else for us, Steve?
So only in change order 11, there's two more items, and I'll be brief. That is
I
totally okay.
apologize.
I just didn't want to skip over them.
No.
The next one had to do with the
The
welding.
welding?
You are
Yeah.
correct.
So if you look at that picture and you look at the angled piece, there's a piece of round steel that's at an angle going down and left in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
If we sat that bar joist on the other piece of steel, that round piece would have collided with the piece of steel that is going in and out of the page, so to speak. I know this is very difficult. But in that red box that I shaded, there is what's called a shim. There's a little lift. We're putting another piece of steel to lift that up by a half an inch so that this piece does not conflict with the steel that's going in this direction. And unfortunately, in order to do that, there was additional welding that was required in order for us to make sure that that shim was secured correctly, and then the steel was then attached to the shim. This was a conflict that, you didn't know until you actually got it out on site based on when the steel was installed. So we just needed to overcome that by half an inch across the entire length of the building, and that's the additional weld. Again, nothing substantial, there's nothing structural about it. It was just to avoid a conflict between two pieces of steel that until we got into the field, we didn't realize was there. And then the last one, so it has to do with the garage door. So all of you, if you have a garage door in your house, you have a big wide opening for the width of the garage door. In a steel frame or a concrete frame structure, when you have a span that opens that wide, there is a piece of steel that goes across the top to be able to hold the weight of whatever is above it so that you can have that big clear opening for your garage door to open. We have that same situation here. The only difference is we have limestone that is hanging or is attached to the outside of the building, and the limestone that is above the garage door did not have anything to sit on. So we are putting in what's called a lintel, but the piece of steel that spans is actually being made wider so that the limestone can sit on that, so that it essentially that carries the weight of the limestone that's above it, because there's nothing below it, because it's the opening for the garage door. Because of the span of the garage door being something wider than what is considered normal for the structural engineer to just say, use this piece of steel, any opening that's greater than, I think, about 14 feet requires special engineering. And the drawings clearly point out that for this one, once we got the garage door and we knew the details, we would then design and solve this lintel issue once we got into the picture. So we couldn't solve this prior to design it because we didn't know what the garage door specifically was going to be, and we needed to get the details associated with the limestone figured out. So this lintel is going to be installed to make sure that we've got something for the limestone to sit on as it's hanging off the building.
So we did not add anything in as far as block on top of the door. We haven't changed the design or the drawings, and the notes were on the plans that would be designed at the time of garage door.
This was a specific
install.
engineering that was required after the fact, yes, sir.
So then the plans did not cover the need for that at the time. You know where I'm headed with this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Totally do. So
So-
we had the piece of steel, we just didn't have the piece of steel that was going to support the limestone. And
Okay.
that's what would needed to be figured out.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Contingency plan, the contingency.
Well, it's just, now that it's engineered, now that you see what you have to have, now you have to pay the money to get what you need.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess I'm still a little puzzled that you didn't know the width of the door or the garage beforehand, but I want to go back to the bar joist though, real quick. What is that supporting, the bar joist on PCO 51? Is that a floor?
That'll be the ceiling or what will support the roof above it.
And
So
is there an occupiable level at the roof? Are we having like a roof garden up there or something like that?
So there is structure above it,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, just want to please make sure that that's taken into account on the elevator design.
It
You
is.
don't want to be a half inch off on your elevator, because you now have a half inch higher floor. That doesn't sound like much, but it will make a big
Nope,
difference
you're-
to
Absolutely.
your elevator landing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all, thank you.
Others? Okay. Have we covered all three of the items
We have,
then,
yes.
Mr. Morrow? Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. That's all that we have, Madam Mayor. We'll take up item C on Monday, and that's all that we have under finance tonight.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on then to item number 7, which is Housing and Community Affairs Committee, chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Burdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No business tonight.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
No business tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Personnel and Organization Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight in personnel and organization.
Thank you, sir. Able to catch your breath. We are going back to Councilman Adams for Planning and Development Committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We
You're
have
welcome.
3 items tonight under planning and development.
Yes, sir.
Item A, consider a request for the plat approval for the purpose of adopting Glen at Kensington Phase 2A-2 on 36.64 acres at Summerlin Parkway and land lot 757 and 810, District 18, Section 2, parcels 075718233 and a portion of parcel 081018255. Application by DC Kensington LLC, care of Daniel Fields. Ms. Reed?
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Shayla Reed, Community Development Director. In regards to this item, you may recall this was something that came before you all last month. The parcels, as far as the numbers weren't correct. So we worked with the county. Those numbers have been changed and the item's back on the agenda. With that, staff reviewed the parcel, gave consideration into their request. This is a second phase of an existing residential development. They're just basically combining creating the lots, identifying the numbers for the lots, as well as creating the roads for the adoption of that for the city when that time comes about. The fire marshal has said that he would like for there to be a condition that states that they would be required to either have a second means of entrance or sprinklers. The applicant is aware of that condition. They are working towards a second road of entrance for this development. And that concludes my report.
So the only thing on our radar was the misprint or the lack of agreement of the parcel numbers
Yes, sir.
between the counties and us, and
Yes,
that
sir.
has now been corrected.
That has been.
So if the plat approval is on for Tuesday and we do not know whether or not there will be a second entrance, then we will need to make sure that as a part of our discussion and approval, if approved, that there would have to be sprinkler.
Yes, sir, that
Sprinkler,
is
is that
correct.
correct?
That is
Okay.
correct.
Any questions or comments there? Seeing none, then, Ms. Reed, you make sure you remind us of that on Monday night then, because I don't assume the county or the fire marshal will have a decision on that at that time, by that time.
Yes, sir, that's why the condition will be put in place, just to make sure either way they'll be
Either or.
required. Yes, sir.
Okay. Good enough. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll then go to item B, hold a public hearing and consider a request for change in zoning from LI, Light Industrial District, to GC, General Commercial District, for 2.91 acres located on Plaza 92 Drive in land lot 53, District 1, Section 5. Parcels 005301500032, 005301500086. Application by BT Storage LLC, care of Sean Gleason. Ms. Reed?
Yes, sir, thank you. As mentioned, this property is located along Highway 92. The request is to rezone the property from light industrial to general commercial. The applicant is requesting to build a self-storage facility with 628 units. This is 2.91 acres of land. As you can see here on the drawing, and you have that in your attachment, there's 3 parcels that this property would have the business located. And currently, right now, this property dead ends into a road because the development had not been completed at the time. They're looking to continue that road in this development to allow for that particular use to go there. You may recall that that's where Martin's, the restaurant, sits, and it dead ends right there. So again, that road will be completed once this development is constructed. So here's the drawing of what that would look like in regards to the units and the storage. You can see here that the 3 parcels, 2 of them are the ones that he's rezoning, and then there's one that'll be left industrial. The 3 parcels that you're seeing in blue are industrially zoned, and it is surrounded by commercial zoning or by the public use zoning that usually the government has for when they're owning land and such. And so within those 3 parcels, 2 they're requesting to rezone to general commercial. And I'll give you more in detail as to why they're requesting the general commercial, because they can in fact put the storage unit currently zoned, but staff gave them a recommendation to rezone, and I'll explain that a little further in just a second. Your future land use does support this going into a general commercial zoning classification. So with that, this rezoning will allow for there to be a single zoning for the proposed development. Every zoning classification has different development standards. It can be very challenging to put one development on 2 different parcels that has 2 different zonings. We would like to have it rezoned to have a continuous or I guess a zoning that flows together to allow for there to be setbacks that match or building heights that match and such. Because as you may know, this is light industrial is more of extreme development than general commercial standards would allow. So again, this is a down zoning. So it reduces the style of uses as well as the style of the structure / development that can go on this site if this property is rezoned. And with that, it does clear up some of the spot zoning we're seeing in that area. Staff is asking for there to be 2 conditions for this particular piece of property. The site does not specify the parking the way that we would like to see, so we're asking for you to put a requirement there that they're required to have the alternative parking plan consideration that our city engineer reviews and gives clearance on. And then lastly, we're asking for them to be required to have a fence to secure the site or gate. So those are the 2 conditions that we're asking for, to consider a parking plan and then also adding the condition of a fence. I will add, council, that you have a committee meeting coming up on Monday that we'll be hearing more about storage facilities and car washes. So I just want to add that reminder that that's on your upcoming committee meeting on Monday. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. Before we open our public hearing and allow public comment, is there any question or comment for Ms. Reed? Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The UDO requires, in this particular case, 60 parking spaces. Am I reading that correctly?
You said 60 parking
60.
spaces?
For self-storage facilities?
What page
What
are you on,
page?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm on 4.
Page 4.
Or no, well, number 12, actually. I'm sorry.
Page
Okay.
12. I'm
Sorry.
12 of 43.
Give me a second, I'm
It says
sorry.
per Article 8.01 of the UDO, 60 parking spaces are required for self-storage facilities.
I must not be seeing the same page 12 as you. Is it the memo that's coming from staff?
It's about a third of the way down that little description.
Staff
Yeah,
report,
that's-
okay.
Yes.
Page
Page
4.
number
Page 4 of the
Gotcha.
staff, page 12.
Page 12 of our packet.
Of our thing.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, okay.
Per Article 8.0.
Yes, that is correct.
So,
And so,
I assume that's based on per number of units? Is that how that works?
so it's looking at the square footage. And so the square footage of the structure is what they're looking for. So if
Okay.
someone's coming to load their storage units, of course, we have to have space for them to be able to occupy that.
Right. It just seems like that's a lot of parking for, I can't imagine there being that many people there at any one time.
Understood.
Is that based off of the International Building Code?
That's in regards to the actual code that we have regarding the square footage.
Right.
But the alternative parking plan will give the opportunity to reduce that if they're requesting that.
But does that come out of the International Building Code? Is that where that originates?
No, that's coming out of our zoning code, the UDO.
Okay. I know, but we kind of tend to pick things out of other places I was just wondering.
Yes, sir.
So, but that's one of the things, are we going to address, though, when we talk about storage facilities or?
Okay, I can add that to the conversation.
Okay,
Yes,
thanks.
sir. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Yes, Coach?
The staff recommendations, the 2 things, 2 items, do they have to have that to y'all before Monday, before we vote, or are we going to be voting not knowing if they're going to meet that criteria yet?
No, sir, you can put it as a condition. The very next step will be your development plan. So when that time comes about, we can ensure that that's included in your development plan. So we'll just monitor that when it comes to Marcus and I reviewing it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
One question, Ms. Reed, just for my own information. The applicant is requesting a down zoning from light industrial. There's nothing else around this property. Everything else is basically developed around it. And all of those properties are general commercial. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. But yet, we're talking about requiring fencing and/or buffers in order to screen from a higher zoning.
To your rear, there's residential.
Okay, to the rear.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I see that. All right. You have corrected my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll open the floor then for the applicant or anyone that would like to come and speak concerning this application. This being a part of the public hearing, if you would come make your presentation. If there is anyone here to do that, please come forward. Give us your name and address for the record. And Madam Mayor's already given us the time limits, I believe, Madam Mayor, you have?
Yes, sir.
Concerning that. How are you, sir?
I'm well, how are you?
Good.
I'm Sean Gleason, I'm the applicant, address is 1776 Peachtree Street, Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30309. I don't have anything necessarily to add to the staff report, I just wanted to give you all an opportunity to ask any questions, supplement or otherwise, on the development.
Okay. Anyone here that have questions? Yes, Coach Watts, go
So
ahead.
I'm sorry, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the two items that's recommended, y'all not going to have a problem meeting that?
No, we've already been in communication with staff as it relates to the alternate parking plan. We agree it seems to be a bit of a heavy parking requirement for the use. And then the landscaping and fencing would be to code standard. We'd put the fence up just as a matter of practice, so yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I would assume it would be enclosed by a fence
That's right,
on four sides.
correct.
Okay. Other questions for the applicant?
Yes,
Yes, Madam Mayor, go ahead.
thank you so much. I know we probably are not at this point yet, but security with cameras and all of that for the storage?
Yeah, we've, as far as what we've contemplated, the fence and the gate system is in place. I don't know that we've gotten down the road in terms
Yes,
of, 24-hour monitoring, but it's something that as we mature and advance our design, it'll be brought into consideration.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Is there anyone here that would speak either for or against this application? This part of our public hearing, we need to make sure we give opportunity. So anyone that would be here in attendance tonight to speak either for or against, please come forward. Seeing none, then we will close this portion of this application in the public hearing, and we will take this up on Tuesday. Are there any other questions or comments? Don't want to cut anyone off. Thank you all for the application and for coming in, and we'll take it up on Monday night. Last item, another public hearing. Hold a public hearing, consider a request for variance from section 3.07B of the Unified Development Ordinance to reduce the minimum square footage for a three-bedroom multifamily unit from 1,500 square feet to 1,200 square feet. The site consists of 53.846 acres on Lee Road, land lot 719, District 18, Section 2, parcel 071918 to 0005, application by Novo Sweetwater, owner LLC, care of Parks Huff and Mike Griffin. Ms. Reed.
Yes, sir. Staff has been in communication with the applicant as recent as yesterday. They have asked that council consider deferring this until the next public hearing opportunity.
Okay. And the reason for that, Ms. Reed, can you share?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. The property owners are not available to be present to have conversations. Their attorney is present, but they're not able to be present.
Okay. Pleasure of the council. Yes, Mr. Estes, go
I
ahead.
just have one comment to make. In the presentation here on page 3, where it says request, it's got the rezoning from the previous item. So,
Yes, we changed that here, but you're
Okay.
correct. It's not corrected on your side.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure
Yes,
we
sir.
had everything correct in the final.
Correct.
Okay, other questions or comments? Okay, then, at the request of the applicant, then we would then, I would assume, Mr. Counselor, I would assume then we would just take no action on on Monday night if we hold true to what they would request and then schedule it for the next set of, we just table it until the next set of meetings?
Yes, as long as it falls within the publication period that was previously set for.
Or do we have any problem with that, Ms. Reed?
No, sir, not at all.
Okay. All righty then, we'll take that up on Tuesday. Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank you,
Reed.
sir.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, Madam Mayor, then we have nothing else tonight under planning and development. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Reed, and the applicants. We will move on then to item number 11, which is Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Public Relations Committee, chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We also have no business this evening.
Thank you, sir. I will move on then to the next committee, which is item number 13. We do have business, and that's Public Safety Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Mayor, I have a couple of items, and we're going to start with item A.
Yes, sir.
Authorize the mayor to sign the FFY 24 Western Region Traffic Enforcement Network Grant Project application for the Police Department. Officer Joe Stager? Did I pronounce it right?
Stager, Joe Stager.
Stager, okay. Go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Brad Stafford, Police Department, 2083 Fairburn Road. I just want to take just a minute. I'm going to let Officer Stager come up here and explain the Western Region Traffic Enforcement Network grant. This will be the third year that you all will have seen this and signed it. This year is for $26,000, a non-matching grant. And on top of that, we don't very often get a chance to brag on our officers, but this is his third year of volunteering to be the regional coordinator for 33 agencies over 8 counties.
Wow.
Much of this work he does on his own time, and he does it above and beyond the time that he works for us. 20-year retired Marine First Sergeant, and he came to us, and it's a pleasure to have him every single day that he works for us. He makes our agency and our city a better place. Joe, why don't you come up and explain?
Well, let's give him a hand with all of that. That's great. Officer Stager, are you also the model that, when you were out on the field? Okay.
No, that's my partner.
That's your
Who
partner.
will remain nameless.
You guys are looking alike. You've been hanging around each other so long.
The spotlight's on him right now.
Okay, I apologize. Yes, sir.
Moving right along.
Yes, sir.
So, as the major said, this will be the third year for the grant. The only real change in this year is they've increased it to $26,000 and some change to take into account some of the hours that the coordinator and the assistant coordinator put into the program. There's a lot of travel, as he said. I have over 8 counties that I oversee with 33 different agencies. The State Patrol has 3 posts plus the Middle Georgia Nighthawks. We do every month we have a meeting in one of those locations of the agencies that is in the network. We do training at that agency. We do road checks, driver safety checks to ensure people are driving safely and impart the safe driving wisdom to them. We've also held in Douglasville a driver safety check in coordination with the heat unit who holds a 3-day event in particular cities, and that generated in more than 800 conversations for distracted driving, seat belts, reckless driving, among other things, to include a couple of morning DUIs. Other than the cost, there really is no change to the program, I said. So if there's any questions that you have, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay. Councilor Miller?
Also, I just want to say I'm truly impressed by not just what you've done, but our department as a whole, just in terms of the number and amount of grants that our police department receives every year is absolutely impressive.
Yes,
And I can't imagine, I would be curious to know how that compares to other departments, but it's just floors me as to how, how much of our funding is coming from outside sources. And it's true, my hat's off to you. Congratulations for achieving that.
Councilman Adams?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as a side note also, Officer Stager also serves
assisting us at our church on Sunday mornings, many Sundays, and he's there for our worship service and partakes, and we're thankful to have him in that position also.
Is there
Thank
anything
you,
he
sir.
doesn't do?
What?
Not that I know
Is there
of.
anything you don't do?
We appreciate you, sir. Thank you, Mr.
Councilman
Chairman.
Watts. Yes, sir, Councilman Watts.
Yes, sir, Officer Steger. How long were you a Marine?
20 years, sir.
20 years. Well, I know lots of times people say this, maybe it doesn't mean as much, but we appreciate your service to your country. And also, we've got the best police department
I know it.
around. And so thank you for that also. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilman Estes?
I will just piggyback what Coach just said. We're proud of you guys.
Anyone else?
Ditto. Thank you.
And I'd like to know the name of that motorcycle that you be on.
I'm sorry?
What's the name of that motorcycle you be on?
The one that we ride?
Yeah,
It's Harley Davidson.
Harley Davidson.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to give a big shout out to you and your Harley. And you've been there. I see him all the time and I break it down. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Moving right along. Item B, authorize the mayor to sign the contract for the purchase and installation of emergency equipment for the police patrol vehicle with West Chatham
Joe, are these
warning device. Captain Sanders.
Sorry, our hero here almost forgot his readers.
You get them mixed up there.
Sorry, I had to get that in. I had to say all those nice things. Good evening again. This is to bring forth the contract that we need to have signed from West Chatham Warning Devices. You'll see in your attachments that we did an RFP on this, and we did the required grading system. I believe that's part of your attachments between it and TJ Madden. Essentially, there are two companies because distance from our police department is essential for us because our Captain Sanders has to go down and check on these vehicles as they're being made to make sure they're doing what we want them to do, putting in there's a great deal of equipment that goes inside the police cars after we buy them. And these are the people that that install all that equipment inside the cars. So these two businesses are within 70 miles, which is what we set as something that was reasonable for us to be able to go check on. And they also have these to them. And not only that, one of the things that you have to understand is all police departments, really nationwide, had the same issue we did about getting cars during the pandemic due to the several different issues with the supply chain. So, for example, Atlanta PD just ordered, I think, somewhere in the range of 350 patrol cars. Mm-hmm. So all of these places that install this equipment have a very large number of cars parked in their parking lot right now that we're trying to get done. So you'll see that West Chatham, which is in Griffin, is the one who won that rating. And just to give you a couple issues, one, they were large enough to handle the volume and the storage for our vehicles as well as all the others from other agencies. Secondly, their technicians are better trained than the other company. They've been through Whelan's training program, Havis's training program, our dash cam providers training program. So we just felt like that was the best company to go with, and it fell within the 70-mile radius. So that's why we're proposing that contract be signed with West Chatham. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about this contract.
Okay, Councilman Adams?
Yes, thank you. Chief, I just noticed something on page 59 of our attachment that they do not use any subcontractors. This is all employed by the West Chatham Group, at their facility in Griffin, so you don't have to worry about it being subbed out somewhere else, and
That's correct.
that you'll know where the vehicles are and who is responsible for the work, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And
Thank
they have done work for us before many, many times as well in years past, and so we know the quality of their work and their employees.
Very important. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all.
Yes, anyone else, Madam Mayor?
No, sir, I don't have anything. Thank you.
So if there's,
Yeah, just a question, do they do everything, all these, like everything from the lights to the sirens to the
They-
speakers, everything?
They do. They do the computer stands. We get the computers ourselves and do some of that work on our own. The computer stands that you install that into the car, that's part of it. Some of the camera equipment we do separately, but the gun racks, the cage that separates prisoners from the officer inside the car, all the blue lights, there are a bunch of different electronic switching components that go in there. They put all of that in there. The sirens, the vaults. There are vaults in the back of some of our unmarked cars that we keep some of our, for weapons and body armor and so on. Those are locked in the back. They install those for us. I mean, everything that goes inside the police car, and then some. If we have them install the spotlights that are on the side of the, inside of the car that you see, the officers can rotate that spotlight around. So yes, they're a one-stop shop, and that's why we like them. In the past, sometimes we had to go pick up a car from over here, then we have to go drive it over here and drop it off. And we still do some of that with the painting we have to do, tinting if there's tint on the cars for like the K-9 vehicles and so on. So these vehicles will take approximately 9 months for us to get them all in, get them all outfitted for everything they need, and then get them out on the road.
It's one of those details most people don't think about. You
Great
don't
deal
just
of
buy
time.
these off the shelf, you have to,
No.
it's gotta be customized from top to bottom.
Some agencies will do that from certain manufacturers. We find that you really can't get everything that you need, and they charge an exorbitant amount of money when you get it right from a manufacturer like that.
Is the base model, the base model of the car itself, is it just like every other Tahoe or whatever, or does it have to be specially manufactured as well to accommodate all of these systems and equipment? that go in
There is a specific model of the Tahoe that is for police.
Okay. So it's reinforced to allow for all
Yeah,
that?
there's several differences to it as far as the rear end. There's
I'd like to put both A and B on the consent agenda for Monday.
Looks like it's a go, Councilman Davis.
Okay, thanks a lot. We appreciate everything you all do, and if you need, just call. That's all I got, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis and Major Stafford. We will move on then to the next committee, Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee, chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight in Recreation, Culture, and Tourism.
Thank you, sir. Technology Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no business at this time coming from the Technology Committee.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on then to item 16, Transportation Committee, chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Burdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one
welcome.
item tonight, authorize the mayor to sign a project framework agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation for project ID 0019210, State Route 92 from SC 578/Hospital Drive to State Route 5, State Route 8, AKA Fairburn Road, to Corridor Improvement Project. Mr. Thompson.
All right. Just for a brief recap, the project framework agreement is a legally binding agreement between the Georgia Department of Transportation and the city, which contains the project phase participation commitments. Basically, it allows the city to access the reimbursements funding that's allocated towards the project and lays out the responsibilities of all parties involved with this project. Before we can move forward with the preliminary engineering phase for the project, this document is required. And if you guys can recall, I presented this a while back last year to you. But at that time, we were going through our local administered project recertification process. So basically, GDOT wants us to update the document because it has a new expiration date for our LAP process now. I mean, LAP recertification. And also, there were some staffing changes within my department, so I updated the responsible in charge, which is myself.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson, and this is routine?
Yep. Yes,
typically?
ma'am.
Yes. Are there any questions? Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Marcus, could you refresh our memories on what this project is?
Oh, yes, sure. So basically, what we're doing, like I said, we're starting the preliminary engineering phase for, it's basically like a beautification project from the new State Route 92 alignment that's near the Checkers, CVS, from that portion on up to Highway 78. We're looking to basically do like a road diet, provide like pedestrian, bicycle facilities, also raised intersections, and basically just improve and enhance that corridor area. So this is what
Thank you.
this document is.
I sometimes can't remember what happened yesterday. So.
Any other questions or comments? I have a question. So the beautification improvement, is it adding on to what is already, what should already be done under the Highway 92 relocation project?
Yes, so
it's adding on.
It's adding more features, yeah.
Okay, so as much as I would like to put this on the consent agenda.
It won't be as extensive as
this.
the
Right.
last construction.
So it is, I was just looking at it, it's a lot of, it just looked like it's a lot of protocol type stuff. I don't see any details of what the beautification would look like. So this is the first phase, and then the next, we would see what specific.
So actually, the next phase will be the right-of-way acquisition phase, where we basically put together a cost estimate. Well, our consultants will put together a cost estimate, basically for any property that we will have to acquire in order to provide these various bicycle and pedestrian facilities, such as extended sidewalk or bike lanes, anything in that nature. And
So-
also utilities.
Okay. So once this is signed, when will you start?
So right now, staff is currently in the process of reviewing the request from we're in the process of putting together the request for qualifications. We sent it out to GDOT, we received comments. So right now, we're just addressing those comments provided for GDOT, and then we have to send that back out to them to get the final approval. Once we get that, we'll begin our advertisement for an engineering consultant firm to help us out with this preliminary engineering phase. So, yeah.
All right, are
So
there
I'll
any?
say,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to answer your question. I went kind of all over the place. But to answer your question, I'll say probably within the next month. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, are there any questions or any other comments?
I do have a quick
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
So it's beautification for 92.
So I understand it's a combination of beautification involves lighting, sidewalks.
That's correct.
So
Lighting,
some of those
sidewalks,
things
bike
we wanted to
lanes,
button up.
Well, that's my question, and thank you, Madam Mayor. So we already have some items that should already be a part of the current Highway 92, so this is just adding on to it?
Right, and then that's another reason why this preliminary engineering phase is required, so they'll take in consideration what is already there and then go back and also see, what could be approved and stuff like that.
Right.
So, just to help you, Madam Chair, this is not anything on the new route. This is the portion of 92 that extends from where Councilman Davis's shop is. It's also 92 and Fairburn Road going to Hospital Drive, that section. It's not on the new route. This essentially will make it a complete street. So you're dealing with sidewalks, you're dealing with medians, you're dealing with landscape areas. So it's not anything on the new route.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
And I believe, if I'm not correct, this is just for engineering study as to how to go about doing that, and that will become a city street.
That's correct.
The designation of the 92 will be taken off of it, and it will become a Douglasville city street. So we're just receiving a grant, it's my understanding, with a match to do the engineering for that complete street study at such time as we're allowed to go forward with it after it's turned over to us. Correct?
That's correct.
From Hospital Drive up what we call Fairburn Road up to Bankhead,
Yes, to Highway
and then
70.
from
That's
the
correct.
railroad north to Mr. Davis' location there across the street from Stewart Middle School, which will become a city street, right?
That's correct.
That's what I thought.
Okay, now I'm getting
Okay.
the direction right.
So we're not redoing things that the state's just completed.
No,
Right.
yeah.
That's something we'll be doing on our own with the help of,
Right.
This
You know,
project.
it's really nice to have the extension of GDOT and what they're doing from the CVS to Hospital Drive. It would be even more nicer if the items that are on the new corridor was complete.
And I would just add, this is going to be, what Mr. Thompson is mentioning is going to start in a couple months. That's really just a preliminary engineering, because then from there, you're going to have to apply for funding from ARC to be able to complete. I mean, you're talking, is it $18 million was somewhere around there was the original estimate?
1.3.
Yeah, and so then from there, we would be looking at getting that funding. So I'm thinking this is more along the lines of probably a 24-month, 36-month process.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to get the funding.
Right, so probably at some point, Mr. Thompson and with our city manager, I definitely would like to have a conversation because, we signed this, we have the match, and then, like, my concern is there's still the lighting, like, right near the CVS in that, like, little turn, those lights are not working. I don't want to make this a long, big deal, but, we signed the contracts with GDOT, hoping that within a timely manner, things will be done, and it still isn't. It still is not, and that's just so unacceptable to start a new project and engineer, which is needed, but just the things that are still needed on that new corridor is still not complete, and that's just not acceptable. Any other comments in regards to this? No? All right, so I'd like to put this on the consent agenda, and then we'll go from there. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bordelli, and thank you, Mr. Thompson. We'll move on then to the next committee, which is item number 17, is other business. Do we have any other business to come before legislative council meeting tonight from council members?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but, and I know maybe we were already going to do this, but, we've got some folks on staff and the city received an award, and
Yes,
just
sir.
maybe telling the public, I know that's been put out there and our website and everything, but just for the folks that maybe missed it, some of those folks that have received awards, I'm pretty proud of them.
I know it. You're right, I was going to say it, but we can have our city manager talk about the Georgia Trend Award that we received for Visionary City, for large cities, for the city of Douglasville. And that was really in conjunction with Douglasville Junior, and of course, our stellar police department. I know that you all received from the FBI, GBI award for the chief did, as well as the department. And so, Major Stafford, if you want to talk about that, we're just, in light of the things that are going on around this country, trying to get through that funeral from Memphis last night that I watched, and then there was an issue concerning at Kennesaw State that my daughter has to deal with, and the president sending a letter to the students. It's just really, it's difficult in some communities, and we are blessed that you all do protect and serve. Not that our police department is perfect, but we really appreciate the things that you do. So try not to be emotional. Okay, go ahead. We're going to do something happy. Miss Chelsea, our Assistant City Manager.
Yes, ma'am. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. As Councilman Watts did say, at GMA a couple of weeks ago, the city's Community Relations Department, they put on a new show called Douglasville Junior. It's interactive with all city departments as well as a lot of different elementary schools throughout the city. It teaches them about government. It teaches them about, taught them about beautification, different projects at the city. And so we did win an award, I believe, for the large size city regarding that innovative project. This is the second time that they've received an award for Douglasville Junior. So I just want to give a shout out to our Community Relations Department and for Mayor and Council for allowing them to be able to conduct broadcast journalism within their department and to help out the schools as well.
Yes, ma'am. That is so exciting. It was just, they were naming all the cities, and then they got to Douglasville, which is really just great. Jason does a wonderful job, and you all, and Miss, where is she? Melissa?
Emily Hardaway. She's actually the face of Douglasville Junior. And Jason, if you all have seen it, there's a puppet. Jason is actually the puppet.
That's a puppet. And going to the schools is fun, too. I've been to a few schools. I have a letter here from Beulah to come to them in a couple of weeks, so it's exciting.
I think our Parks Director also got something recently.
Yes, Mr. Bass, thank you so much for remembering. That's your committee, so you remember. Yes, sir. Our police department, talk about.
Yes, the police department and the chief received an award at the last conference that the chief attended for the FBI National Academy Alumni Association of Georgia. And they recognized the chief and the department for the commitment to the community outreach programs that we have at the agency. So that really summarizes it. I appreciate you recognizing them again. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Chief of the Year and Department of the Year. All right, Mr. Bass, you want to talk about the parks? I know, putting you on the spot. You were here. It's great to hear from you all the time when we see you.
Yes, ma'am. So, which award are we speaking in reference to?
There's so many.
Lose track.
You know, it's just like.
You know,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, city manager. I'm sorry.
You forgot that this is our most humble employee.
I'm sorry.
Well,
the one for the parks for West Pines, we are in, okay.
Yes, ma'am. So you are correct. We have won several. So West Pines was recognized in the Georgia Golf Association magazine for the transition that has taken place and a lot of the tournaments that were hosted this past summer. We've won the Agency of the Year, and we've also recognized with Georgia Recreation and Parks Association in our district as well with some of our program awards. So got quite a few things going on.
Parks Recreation of the Year.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Georgia Recreation and Parks Association Agency of the Year. Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
Year. Okay.
Madam City Manager, can we, you know how in the National Hockey League, when they hang up, they win the Stanley Cup, they hang those banners up?
That's what we
start
need to
doing
do.
that in the city council chamber, just start hanging
We could probably do it in
up.
council chambers as long as Mr. Bass is nowhere near it. We're going to be good.
Because the HR department as well, HR department.
We have. I think that we probably don't have a department at the city that has not within probably the last 12 months that have not been recognized, whether it be department-wise or that employee in some way, shape, or form awarded for something. So you all provide opportunity for all of our staff members to be involved in professional development opportunities with their individual professional associations, and with that, the purpose is to come back to better the city, but oftentimes the career benefit is that we do get some hardware that says we're good to go. Chelsea and I are already saying when we were at Georgia Trend that what city was that with their little amphitheater? I don't know. We're gonna be better. We're gonna be better than that next year. We will get that award.
And I kept thinking when they were naming stuff, I'm like, we do that.
Absolutely. But
yes.
We do appreciate the opportunity to participate and making certain that we are top notch. So as I say all the time, we have definitely some of the best employees, I would say, in the nation. Absolutely.
I agree with that, City Manager. And I think when we had our last something that we had in the conference center with the employees, and you were talking about morale, I think this really is an indication of morale in the city and how employees work and come to work, because you are dedicated and you do such a wonderful job, and it really is being rewarded. We can actually see the rewards in your hard work and your dedication. So thank you so very much, our City Manager and everyone on staff. Okay, any other? Yes, sir, Mr. Adams?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to bring to the attention of the group or ask the question. This is a small thing, but I know in our retreat last week, I think there was some sort of competition going on about the presentations and who had the best, and if there was maybe an award given out privately. Was that Is that not something to be announced?
Well, we're not going to announce it. We actually had a staff retreat before you all's retreat, and one of their tasks was to actually watch themselves on camera while they presented to you all to better themselves. Mr. Bass completely failed, just to let you know, completely failed. He did not express any humility. All his peers acknowledged that was something that he really needed to work on to improve
It was
upon.
self-confidence. It wasn't arrogance. It's confidence.
Absolutely. So we're going to have some quarterly rehabilitation meetings with everybody on staff for improvements.
That's not the direction I was headed with this.
Yeah. We always want to make you all look good, so that's what we're aiming for.
Don't you have a few classes under the Douglasville University banner that he could be taking?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, Douglasville U. Ooh, City Manager, you want to talk about that, or we don't want to unveil it yet?
Actually, already, it's February 2nd, so we shared it with you all at the retreat, and it's more or less an internal product for us, but for the public, we pride ourselves on not only being able to receive that information that we receive from our professional trade associations, but to bring that back to some of our employees who are not necessarily able to afford the opportunity to maybe participate in training that does not happen on the city's, basically on the city's property. We do partner with the Carl Vinson Institute of Government because of that, so they bring in their training, so we don't have to always send employees out to Athens or places that they have the training. There'll be classes not only that we bring in some outside individuals, but we ourselves will be able to teach ourselves. Major over there, he can teach a class on basically active shooter, and he's done that for us for years, and that's something that we will be able to have as a part of Douglasville University classes. Miss Miranda Jordan will be teaching a class on estate planning for our employees. So the idea is that not only will it be things that are germane to you as an employee to do your job better, but to also help you in your personal life, because we believe you spend a lot of time here, and if what is happening at home is not necessarily whole, it makes it hard for you to come to work, and we want to make certain that we're very small and that we support each other and give that opportunity for each of our employees to be able to be well-rounded, and I'm proud of us that we're able to do that for one another.
Thank you so much, City Manager. You do a wonderful job in the staff supporting the initiatives. Any other business to come before from council members? I know it's raining, it's pouring. Old man is snoring. Okay, updates from the city staff. Our city attorney, Mr. Joel Dotson. Thank you, sir. Our staff attorney, Ms. Miranda Jordan. Good evening. You don't have anything? Okay, you're looking pretty. The police department, Major Stafford. Okay, he's looking dapper too. Okay, we're ready, fit to fight. Our city manager, Ms. Marsha Hampton.
Just to remind you all, I know you all come before us regarding the number of storage units and car washes. Ms. Shayla Reed mentioned during her presentation that you all will have a discussion at 5 o'clock. We will have those maps available for you to take a look at. I will ask her to send that to you in advance to prepare yourselves for your discussion at 5 p.m. on Monday.
All right. Well, thank you so much, City Manager. Now is the portion, if you have sustained the meeting and you'd like to come before us, comments from citizens and delegates, please come forward, and you have 5 minutes to talk to us about any business germane to the city of Douglasville.
Madam Mayor, while Ms. Welch walks up, I did mention her in my training class yesterday with Carl Vinson that we do have active citizens that come and always participate with us and always help to make us better. So she was my example.
Oh, Miss Welch.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but
It's good. It's good.
I'm Cindy Welch. I live at 3002 Concord Way, Douglasville, Georgia.
Yes, ma'am.
The last time I was here, you all remember what I brought and presented to you, and that was on a Thursday evening. On Friday, when I left to go have my regular bagels, before 9 o'clock, the other 4 were picked up. So they're picked up. But nothing has happened since then. And people, where the white lines are, people drive up there, people still come out of that driveway. And I've been trying to think of what could happen. You know, what could you do? Can you put those things back up and make them go out further? Can you put a cement slab there with a raised median so they can't cross it? I mean, can you close the driveway completely? Because there is a driveway that comes out on Chapel Hill at a traffic light.
Mm-hmm.
Or they can go up to the liquor store and make that one.
Right.
But yesterday, a lady driving a van for Kroger was sitting there, and I knew what she was going to do. I wanted to get out and make a left turn, and I knew exactly. And she kept motioning me, and I motioned right back and honked at her. She finally just came straight across, and I thought she was going to hit my car, but she went down, turned in a driveway, and turned around and came back out.
Yes, ma'am.
But, I mean, something has to be done. Close the driveway, put those stanchions back up, put a raised little thing there, or make it a four-way stop. I mean, I don't understand why it has taken so long. And
Yes,
I don't
ma'am.
want to get my car wrecked, and I don't want to see anybody else's car wrecked.
Yes, ma'am. And as you
Something has
said-
got to be done there and done soon.
Yes, ma'am. But as you've indicated, when you brought the prop in, that the other 4 were gone, it is in progress now.
Yeah, I'm sure
So-
someone has, from the city, picked them up. I'm pretty
Yes,
certain.
ma'am. So we are working on it. That's why those other medians
I
or
know, but
whatever
in the
they are
meantime,
gone.
I mean, and I was sitting there yesterday, also coming back, going to make a left turn into my neighborhood.
Mhm.
So there's a car sitting, waiting to come out. Cars coming up Chapel Hill Road. They go right past on the right side of me, come around, and that other car's trying to get out of that driveway and make a left turn. And there I sit, because I can't turn left into my neighborhood because of all the traffic coming off Chapel Hill. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but something has got to be done.
Yes, ma'am. The city manager is going to respond. I know our public works and engineers are working on it.
Unfortunately, Ms. Welch, we can't just immediately do all of your recommendations or any of your recommendations until it's actually engineered. So when we were at the mayor and council retreat, the council gave us direction to start that. So the engineers do have that information, so they will actually have to engineer that intersection before we can do anything with it.
If they need help, I'll help them.
I will let them know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other comments from citizens and delegates? Oh, yes, ma'am.
I have left Durley Road alone for a little while.
Okay. Thank you.
Cindy, I'll give you some pointers in AutoCAD if you want to go help, okay?
Any other comments? We don't have any other comments from citizens. We don't have any other business to take care of. This meeting is adjourned.